Hello and welcome to today's video. So this is going to be a super quick, super simple like wrap up. This is my August wrap up. These are all the books I've read in August. However you want to word it, that's what we're doing. We're just keeping it nice and simple. I read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 books during August, most of which have been seen in videos, so I don't really feel the need to talk about them so much. Like, you've probably seen them in other videos. When I am talking about them, like the first book that I mentioned that's been in a video, I'll like link the video up in the cards, whichever side that is. And yeah, that is the basic plan. I'm going to pick it up, I'm going to tell you my star rating, give you my quick thoughts, feelings, all that jazz, and then we'll get on with it. So that's the plan. First in the month, I read Kingdom of the Wicked. I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars in the end. I did feel like there was room for improvement and there was room for a bit more of a punch and a bit more of a shock and twist, but things were just hinted at a bit too much for my liking. However, I still gave it 4 stars, really enjoyed it. And the paperback of book 2 has very recently came out, so literally within the next like week I plan on picking that up and hopefully fitting it into the TBR as quickly as I can, because I did really enjoy it and I really enjoyed our main characters and I really enjoyed the journey we went on. So yeah, overall would recommend, had a fun time. Then next up I read a arc of Foul Lady Fortune. This is like one of my most anticipated releases. Even though I've read it, I can't wait for it to come out because I just need to own it. Like, honestly, this was amazing. I gave it 5 stars. It is the start of a new duology, but is a follow-on from the These Violent Delights duology? These Violent Delights? Yeah. So if you don't want to get spoiled for that duology, you do need to read that first. But if you don't mind about like spoilers of how it ended, because this book does start 4 years after that one ends, then yeah, go into it. It's great. We follow basically some side characters from the first duology and no main characters in this duology, but also adding in new characters and new brothers, and obviously I can't say a lot. It's a new arc, it's still not out yet, it comes out this month. So with that being said, I would recommend it. I've rated it 5 stars. I love the mystery aspect, I love the like slight fantastical aspect, and I really enjoyed our main character, our main character's viewpoint, and also seeing how the story progressed through what they were and weren't able to do with those around them. Next up, I'm just going to do these next 2 together. I read Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. I gave them both 4 stars. Honestly, I think Six of Crows was worth 4 stars. This one, I probably rated a bit high. Didn't think it was anywhere near as good, to be honest, but didn't think it was bad enough to give 3 stars. Maybe this is a 3.5 stars, but I've already rated it, I'm not going to go back through now. So yeah, these are the next 2 books that I read. Six of Crows, Crooked Kingdom. This is a duology that takes place in the Grishaverse. This takes place after the Shadow and Bone trilogy by quite a few years. And yeah, it was good, it was fun, I enjoyed it. Our main characters were interesting. I just didn't feel like I got enough time with any of them to truly care. I liked quite a few of them, but I didn't love any of them. Like, I really felt like I wanted more from this and it just didn't deliver. I like the world, I like the world building, I like how our main characters interacted. On the back of this, like, you do know that you're following basically a group of thieves. And yeah, I really enjoyed that aspect, and seeing that every single character was morally grey in some way or another. It just felt like it could have been so much more and I didn't get what I wanted from it. I will still probably read more in the Grishaverse because I see the potential. Like, this is so close to doing what I want, but it just didn't. Next up, I read Will. I'll link the video up above that I read this in. Basically, I ended up giving it 3 stars. It's not worth 3 stars. Honestly, I would have given it a 1 star if it wasn't someone's like biography, someone's memoir, like someone's life. Like, normally I give all of these sort of books 5 stars. Still having like a slight mental breakdown over the fact that I didn't give it 5 stars because, like, who am I to judge someone's life? But it's a 1 star book. I gave it 3 stars. I feel like 3 stars is very generous, but just because I disagree with so many, like, what I would view as morally wrong, like fundamentally wrong things that happen, that Will Smith seems to think, or at least allude to, that he feels. And to be honest, the first third of the book was kind of alright, but he was very young, so I was kind of dismissing a lot of things that were going on as like, oh, this will get addressed later on. Didn't get addressed, never gets addressed. Basically, I don't think that the way that Will Smith views women and the women in his life is very healthy. Maybe that's not a popular opinion, I don't know, but that's how it made me feel, and I felt horrid the entire time reading it. I didn't enjoy it, and I would honestly say it's like borderline misogynistic. Not a fan. Really not a fan of Will Smith anymore. Like, I wasn't a big fan to start with, but I'd seen him in a few things. Yeah, gave 3 stars. Read like a 1 star. Then next up, I eventually read Animal Farm. I read one small tiny non-fiction by George Orwell before, but I'd never read a fiction, and I really like this. I ended up giving it 4 stars. Like, it wasn't my favourite, like I didn't love it, but I had a really good time reading it. I thought it kind of hit the point that it was trying to make really well, and even before it gets into a more political aspect, the things that were happening, the things that were going on, it was very much like, oh, like, this is really cool, this is really interesting because it's animals. But you still kind of knew that if it was humans, this would be like fucking crazy, but it is actually just how our world and our politics are. So yeah, really enjoyed this. Definitely will be picking up more George Orwell. It's definitely an author that I would like to explore more of, and I really enjoyed this book. Yeah, I honestly don't have a lot else to add because I feel like most people either already know what Animal Farm is and is about or have already read it. I really am glad that I have read it now. I don't know who I'd recommend it to, honestly, but if you've read the back of Animal Farm or read the description and haven't read it and feel like it could be your thing, I would say give it a go. Also, the audiobook that was on Scribd was really, really good to listen along to. There was a lot of voices and a lot of different aspects, and I had a fun time doing it that way. Then, next up, the oldest book that I've ever read now is Carmilla. So this is like the original, well, it says the cult classic that inspired Dracula. I won't say exactly what happens in this book, but most people know what Dracula is, so can kind of guess it, right? I gave this 4 stars. I had a fun time reading it. It was really short, really tiny little book. It probably only read like a 3 star for me, but this was, I can't remember the exact year, but I think it was originally published in like it was originally in the serialised magazine The Dark Blue between 1871 and 1872, and like published in 1872 properly. Yeah, it would have had such an impact then. Like, the culture that we have currently towards supernatural things and what's going on, I don't think it hit the same as it would if you had no idea what was going on. But obviously, reading it now in today's age, you kind of see certain signs that lead towards certain things that might be happening that are supernatural. So the impact wasn't as big for me, but understanding what this would have been and how like massive this would have been for its time, I gave it 4 stars. And I really am happy that I did that. I had a fun time, and I definitely would recommend this. I haven't read Dracula yet, so I don't know if I prefer this to Dracula or not, but I definitely will pick it up at some point. But yeah, this came out before Dracula and it's nowhere near as popular, which I don't know why, because I haven't read Dracula yet, but I really am shocked that it's not more popular than it is. Then next up, I eventually finished, to be fair, I'd been halfway through this one for quite a while, but I eventually finished City of Lost Souls. This is book 5 in the Mortal Instruments series, which is one of the series in like the Shadowhunter world. I had a fun time, I had a good time. This is a reread for me. I'm just rereading these to be able to start a new series. Honestly, it was decent. I had fun with it. Was it anything special? No. I gave it 3 stars. Yeah, it was fine. It's classic YA, and you can kind of tell when it was released. You know, I don't know what year this was actually released, but I'm guessing like before 2010. Oh, 2012 this one. Okay, fair enough. But yeah, it's just a bit aged. It's not as good as what you might find coming out new these days. But I still had a fun time. I had fun like with these characters and this world and learning new things. And I'm excited to get to the last book in the series, which again is a reread. But I know that the last book was like my favourite book the first time I read this series, I think. So yeah, again, I'm not giving much details. you probably know what it's about. And then I eventually finished the, what's it called, the Infernal Devices series. This is book 3, this is just a trilogy, but again in the Shadowhunter world, but this is separate to that first one. Yeah, and this is the final book in the trilogy. I gave it 5 stars. I had a great time reading this. I definitely think Infernal Devices overall is kind of coming out as better than the Mortal Instruments, which is shocking because the first time I read these series, definitely didn't feel that way. Definitely felt like Mortal Instruments was far superior. But it is making me realise that maybe I should dip my toe into historical, because if I remember correctly, when I read this for the first time, like, you know, back 10 odd years ago, the reason I wasn't enjoying this one so much was because of the historical aspects and just getting so annoyed. But yeah, I really enjoyed it this time. I enjoyed all of the conclusions. There was definitely some shocking points. Obviously I knew what to expect. It was a reread for me. But even knowing what to expect, the things that first time round were like truly shocking, truly like game changing, they still hit, like, even though I knew they were happening, they still hit the spot they're meant to hit. And yeah, I had a great time reading this. And then I eventually ended up doing like a book scavenger hunt. Again, I'll link the video up above, and if you haven't watched it and you want to, then like watch it now, because I'm about to reveal the book I ended up with. But yeah, the book I ended up with is The Girls I've Been. This was great. It got 4.5 stars. It wasn't quite 5 stars, like not quite, but it was so close. But I ended up going 4.5. If I was having a more generous day, I might have given it the full 5, but I think 4.5 is pretty fair, and yeah, I'm happy with it. This was honestly so good. Basically, we follow Nora, our main character, who has kind of grown up being a con artist. That's all you really know going into it. And we follow her and her two, what does it say on the back? Okay, so basically her like ex-boyfriend and her new girlfriend. It does say that on the back, that's not a spoiler. And they go to the bank and get caught up in a bank heist. But she, being the person that she was before, can help this situation, can help solve this situation, can get things done. But we don't really know about her past, so I don't know if it'll show up on camera. If I like block my face out, you can kind of see there's 2 different page colours. All of the like grey tone pages are all pages from her past, and like things that have gone on previous, these different people she's had to be when being this con artist. And then all of the like normal coloured pages, like the creamier, I don't even know what colour these pages are, whatever, normal book pages, they are all like the present, like whilst this bank heist is happening, what's going on, and kind of interweaving them into each other. I really enjoyed this, had a great time. It is YA, and I will say the one thing to note going into it, I think the characters in this are about like 16, which, even though I knew it was YA, when I picked this up and I read the back, I just expected them to be a bit older. Like, it kind of felt like we were going to be following adults, but throughout the story they are definitely seen as like the children. So yeah, there is just that to note, because it is the one thing that kind of made me have to like push a bit to get into it. But yeah, I had a great time and I really enjoyed it. And last but not least, I have started 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 6 or 7 books during August that I haven't finished. And at the end of the month, I was going on a shopping trip. I normally had headphones in when I go shopping. I just wanted to finish a book, so I went through my shelves and found a short audiobook with a book that I already owned, and that was 'Twas the Night Shift Before Christmas, which, yes, it is August. No, I'm also not a massive fan of Christmas, but I did end up reading this. I read the audiobook basically whilst I was going on a shopping trip, and it was fine. I gave it 3 stars. I think if you enjoy like humour and like a very dry sense of humour in like a non-fiction thing, you could really enjoy that. I don't really get humour that well, to be honest. A lot of the things you could kind of tell when reading it, I'm meant to be finding this funny, like this is meant to be a funny aspect of this. It just didn't hit home for me, like I didn't get it. When I rated it on Goodreads, loads of people did get it, so honestly I would say this is decent. Like, it's a 3-star book. Reading it, it was interesting to read because you get all these stories about working in a hospital around Christmas time, but I feel like you're only truly gonna like really rate it and really view it highly if you get the same humour as what is in it as well, which unfortunately I didn't, but I still did enjoy it, and I still would recommend it to people who have a bit of a different sense of humour, basically, to me. I think, I don't know how to describe the sense of humour in it. I would just say a pretty normal British sense of humour, to be honest. But there we go, that was the last book of the month. So those are all the books that I ended up reading. I am not really going to say much more, to be honest, because this was just meant to be a quick video and I can already see I've been filming for 20 minutes. Obviously it'll be a bit shorter once I've edited it down, but I expect it to be considerably shorter than this. So there you go. I really do hope you enjoyed the video. Please do give it a like if you liked it. Subscribe down below if you'd like to see more content like this, and hopefully I will see you next time. Bye!